Alrighty, let's keep going. One cool kind of trick I want to show you now that the code is starting to get a little bit bigger, is we would like to be able to bracket off the code so it doesn't take up so much of the screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the code I'd like to kind of so I want to basically treat this as one block of code. And I'm going to do Control, Shift, and then I'm going to do the left bracket. So it's next to P on your keyboard. It's like the one with the curly braces. Okay, this is the left one. Okay, so I do that, and notice how it has this arrow here, and I can do this, click here, and see how it expands and contracts the code, so that way it doesn't take up so much space on the screen. So I'm gonna do that. So basically, the command I'm going to type it out is Control Shift left bracket. So it'll look like this. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to highlight it, and then Control Shift left bracket. Okay, cool. So that way, like I can, expand and contract these. So that way, I can have more space to look at. So it's like not taking up so much of the screen visually. Alrighty. So reverse case. Create a reverse case function and export it. This function has one parameter, a string. All right, let's go ahead and do that. I'm gonna close these other things out too while I'm at it. Oh, sure, save. Alrighty. So I already forgot the name of the function. Reverse case. Cool. Okay, function reverse case, and I'm guessing it takes a in what's called input. Okay, takes in a string. It returns a new string that has the same letters and characters, but the capitalization of every letter is reversed. So A becomes A. Okay, got you. All right, we're gonna do what we just did before. I'm gonna go ahead and make my tests. Okay, we're gonna describe reverse case tests. Remember, describe is how we package tests together. Okay, arrow function. Okay, and then I'm going to put my test cases here. Alrighty, so let's do our first test. Lowercase a becomes uppercase A. Arrow function. Cool. Alright, so we need to export this. So we're going to go ahead and add reverse case to our exports. Okay, module.exports, and just put it in with everything else. And then we're going to do, I already forgot what, miscellaneous, there we go, miscellaneous dot reverse case. Then we're going to do A. Okay, so it should return something, so let test case equal miscellaneous dot reverse case A. I expect, okay, so remember, the basic syntax was you expect something to be something, right? So I'm running my test. So this is the act part. So remember, just to quickly review, tests have three parts to them: arrange, act, assert. Okay, in most of these tests, the arrange part's gonna be really like short because there isn't much to do as far as arranging it. It's mostly gonna be act and assert. So what I'm doing is I'm running my function reverse case with lowercase a, and I expect that this variable test case that's C# to be capital A. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and just do these tests real quick. All right, here we go. So I just went ahead and did, because the tests pretty much follow the same pattern, right? So let variable equal function input, expect variable dot to be expected value. You'll notice that it's the same thing over and over again. And that's by design. Unit tests are supposed to be like this. Like they're not they follow a specific pattern. That's kind of the point of the unit test, is that it follows a specific pattern. So I do want to point out that they do throw a couple good curveballs. Good unit testing, thinks about all the possibilities as much as it can. So for example, what if you get a blank string, right? Like what if your function, does it still work if the person gives you nothing? Does it give it, what about numbers? Okay, what about numbers and letters? So these three, okay, I wanted to point them out, are good test cases, right? Because normally when you think about testing a function, you're going to be thinking about like, upper and lowercase letters, which is cool. It's just you got to also think about like what happens if they give us something goofy. I'm going to save this. Okay, now all these tests are going to fail as they stand because obviously my reverse case doesn't do anything. All right, so let's go ahead and make a function reverse case. All right, we got that. All right, so I want to first, let me think about this. Okay, so handle empty string case. Then I would like to, so basically you're going to give me a string, right? If it's empty, I'll just give you an empty string back. That's easy enough. So if your string has actual stuff in it, I need to first check, I'm going to iterate through the word. Iterate through the word with a for loop. If the letter is lowercase, turn to upper, and vice versa. So append changed letter to a new string, called placeholder string, return the placeholder. All right, so I've done a little bit of pseudocode, like to try to think about how I'm going to like actually tackle this. So first off, if they give me an empty string, I'll just hand it back to them. That's easy enough. I'm going to, so if the, so basically anything, any code here is going to assume that the string they gave me has something in it, right? Because otherwise I would have kicked them back. So let's actually, well, we'll go over the logic first. So I'm going to iterate through the word with a for loop. So I'm going to go through each letter. Okay, if the letter is lowercase, turn to upper and vice versa. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a placeholder variable. It's going to kind of hold my string as I iterate through the loop, so that like it will take the letters that I've switched over, and then I'm going to take that placeholder variable and return it. So let's start to implement this. So first off, if input dot length equals 0, okay, return blank string. That's easy enough. Okay, so basically, if they give me a blank string, okay, length of a string, right, is how many letters or characters, excuse me, are in it. And so if it's nothing, then bye. Then we're going to do our for loop. For, let I equals 0. I is less than input dot length. I plus plus. Cool. So we're going to go iterate, okay, through this string. Right, this again, this for loop, you know, I equals 0, I is less than input dot length, I plus plus. This is super common. If you still feel uncomfortable with this, please practice it. So let's go ahead and do it. So now what I'm thinking is I need to check to see if it's lower or uppercase. I might need a helper function for this. Function, change case, letter. Okay, so I'm going to make a helper function. So what helper functions are is that they're not like the main event. They basically can do a little piece of functionality so that everything isn't in the main function. You don't want your functions to be these big behemoth monoliths of stuff. I mean, they can be. It's just hard to read and hard for other people to understand. So it's good to break things up with using helper functions. So I'm going to go ahead and say this is helper function. Okay, cool. So all right, so basically, if the letter I'm given is equal to letter dot to uppercase. So basically, I'm basically saying, hey, if I were to make this letter uppercase, would it be the same as it already is? That means it's uppercase. So I'm going to return letter dot to lowercase. So let's go through the logic here. So you give me a letter. If the letter is uppercase, so basically if I were to make this letter, like I'm going to run the uppercase function on the letter. If what I get out is the same, then that letter must therefore be uppercase. So therefore I'm going to return the letter to lowercase. Else, return letter dot to uppercase. Now, there's only two options. Okay, I'm either returning the lowercase or uppercase version. Yes, you can condense this. Okay, so you don't have to write with all this like if statement. So we could use a ternary operator. So I'm going to comment this out. So we could do letter equals letter not to uppercase. So basically with ternary operators, you put the condition first. Okay, so this is the condition that we're checking. Is the letter the same thing as the uppercase version of the letter? Then I'm going to do question mark, and then what you want to return. So if it is, I want to return letter dot to lowercase. If it's not, then we'll do letter dot to uppercase. Okay, so the whole point of this syntax is not to do anything like different in terms of logic. It's just basically to write this all in one line, so it's a little bit like neater. I'm gonna leave it as just the if else statement because like most people get that. Okay, I'm gonna leave this here in case you wanted to see like how to write it in a more compact way. Okay, but essentially what this is going to do, this helper function is going to handle my changing the casing of the letter. All right, so letters and so the thing is numbers will not be affected by to uppercase or to lowercase. They're going to be the same, so that should be fine. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to also make a placeholder variable while I'm at it. So because this says to make a placeholder, so I'm going to do let placeholder equals blank string. So I'm going to do, so basically I'm going to take each letter, I'm going to change its case and append it to the placeholder. So basically placeholder plus equals change case, and then to get the letter, I have to use the bracket syntax because the letter is going to be in the input at I index. So the first letter, when I equals 0, we'll get the first letter. When I is 1, we'll get the second letter. When I is 3, we'll get the third letter, etc., etc. Okay, so I'm just using this bracket notation from the array. So basically, every time it iterates through the loop, it's going to change the case of the letter and append it to this placeholder. And then at the end of all this, we're going to just go ahead and return the placeholder. I'll move the comments above the code. Okay, so let's make it look a little neater. There we go. All right, so this is how like pseudocode turned into real code. So all we have to do now is make sure we save everything, and then let's run our test. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Ooh, we got a failure. Oh, and something different. Count letters. Count letters has already been declared. Oh, that's from something else. Okay, so change case, count letter. Oh, I have 2 of them. Oh, I left this in there from something else, from something previous. Okay, cool. Let's run our test. See, like that let me know that I did something. Okay, cool. Everything passed. All right, see, the cool thing is that you don't have to do all that like console logging and like moving back and forth. I just run my test and it tells me if they pass or fail. It's much more efficient. And also we have them nice and grouped. So we have temperature test, counting letters test. Okay, did it do all my tests? Should have done all the tests. I don't see the, let's take a look. Let me just make sure this got saved and try again. Reverse case test, there we go. All right, so, oh, I forgot to change the names. I'm sorry. I copied and pasted these. That's okay, we'll change them in a second. All right, but that's essentially the idea. All right, so let's move on. I'm gonna go ahead and make this a block of code. So highlight it, Control Shift left bracket, and now see, now this is like, I love this. So like this is way easier to look at least from my perspective. All right, let's take a look at the next thing we're supposed to do. Score palindrome. This one's kind of hard actually. All right, this function is 1 parameter of strings. We're going to make our function. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with these. We got Control Shift left bracket, Control Shift bracket, because this is starting to get really like a lot of stuff in this one file. All right, cool. I'll make some space. Function score palindrome input. All right, And what do you do? It calculates the palindrome score by counting the number of characters that are mirrored and returns a score. A character is mirrored if it's in the same position forwards and backwards. For example, the first and last characters are the same, that's 1 point. If the second and next to last characters are the same, that's a point. When a word has an odd number of letters, the middle letter does not count as a point. Okie doke. So let's go here. All right, let's go ahead and do what we always do, make our tests. Describe palindrome tests. Arrow function. Neat. And then we'll do our first test. I'm going to also do what I always do. Okay, so I can remember. All right. So we're going to do our test, and it's going to be blank string return 0. Arrow function. Cool. And so we're going to do, I always forget to export it, so let's go ahead and export score palindrome. You see how this is like really convenient? You just have to just stick the function in there, and there you go. Okay, so let test case equal score palindrome blank string. I expect test case dot to be 0. All right, and as always, I'm going to take a second and just go ahead and knock out, sub out the rest of these test cases because they're basically the same pattern over and over again. All right, let's type up the rest of these things. Give me 1 second. I'm going to go ahead and just do these real quick. Okay, so here's how I'm kind of thinking of this. I'm thinking like if I just take the string and I split it in half, then I can take the second string and reverse it. So let's do some pseudocode. So take the string and split it in half. Reverse the second half. Iterate through the first half and check to see if its analog is the same in the second half of string. If they're the same, tick up a counter, return the counter. All right, so let's split this string in half. The thing is, it might be a little bit different if it's odd or even. We can take care of that. So let's do let first half is equal to input, which is a string. We're going to use a slice. Slice is a method we learned, we reviewed a bit. Basically, it's used for strings, and it allows you to slice a string up into little parts. Starting in a certain index, I want to start at 0. Okay, so basically slice says, okay, cool. What index do you want me to start at? 0. What index do you want me to end at? I want you to end at halfway through. Okay, the length of the string divided by 2. So we'll get the first half. Okay, so I like to do a little bit of checking just while I do things. So I'm going to go ahead and put like, I don't know, zither. Okay, this is 6, this should be zit, should come out. Let's console log first half, just to see if I'm on the right track. Okay, node source miss.js. Cool. All right, so now I need to check if it's odd. So we can use that modulo. So if input modulo 2 is not equal 0. Okay, so an even number is evenly divided by 2. So if I divide 2, if there's a remainder when I divide 2 into the number, that means it's odd. So I'm going to create let second half equal blank string. All right, so basically if it's odd, I would like to make it so input.slice. I'm going to start from the halfway point and then go to the end. Let's see. So start here. So actually, I want to start 1 over from half because it's odd. So that middle, so basically when it's odd, that middle letter is going to be ignored, and then go all the way to the end. So I don't need to give it another argument. All right, so with slice, what it will do is you give it the starting element. If you don't put in a second argument, it will just start at that element and then give you everything after it. So that's what I want. And then in this case, second half, when it's even, it's just basically input.slice, input.length divided by 2, right? Just start at the halfway point and go over. And then let's go ahead and just do a little quick test. See if my logic makes sense. Okay, I'm going to console log both of them. Okay, so zither should be 6, right? All right, so it gave me the T and then it gave me the H. Okay, interesting. Oh, okay, sorry, length. I was like sitting here staring at it like, what on earth is going on here? All right, so let's try that again. Okay. All right, let's run it. Okay, cool, there we go. All right, sorry, I forgot the length here. See, you not make mistakes. All right, so zither. So Z-I-T-H-E-R. Let's just add one more letter to this to make it odd. See if that will get rid of the H. All right, cool. All right, so that works. I can get the first and second half of the letter, and so I'm going to reverse. Let's see. I could turn to an array and reverse it. That would probably be a good idea. I also could, let's see. All right, the easiest way to do this would be to first turn the string into an array. The way you can do that is I can take second half, which is a string. I'm going to use the split function. All right, we haven't really gone over the split function too much. I think we did way back when. But I'm going to remind you what the split function does now. The split function will take a string and it will like divide it up into an array based on a character. So to give you an example, let's say I had a string like this. Okay, so notice how this is comma delimited, right? Okay, so I'm going to do let console.log second half.split with a comma. I'm going to run this. Okay, you see how it gives you an array? Okay, oops, I should have done example string, but it does, I mean, it does move my point, but let's let's do example string that's split. Okay, cool. So what split does is go through the string, find this character that I gave you, and then turn it into an array where each element is all the stuff before each character. So example string turns into an array of Bob, Joe, and Jane because it stopped at every single comma. You can use split to turn strings into arrays so that you can use the array built-in functions for arrays if you just do split with no argument. So I'm going to do second half.split, which we did here. See how it turned into an array? And then what I can do is reverse it. Not reduce, reverse. Okay, I'm going to show that off. Okay, see how it was ERL at first, and now it's LRE? Okay, so reverse does exactly what you think it does. It reverses the array. All right, and then we can just go ahead and use this. Okay, cool. So I'm going to do second half equals. Okay, so now I'm going to reverse the second half. So I'm going to put my pseudocode above what I'm doing. All right, iterate through the first half. All right, so let's do that. For I equals 0, I is less than input.length, not input.length, first half.length, I plus plus. All right, so we're going to iterate through the first half and then compare it to the second half. So I'm going to basically say if first half at index I is equal to second half at index I, then I'm going to, okay, so if they're the same, take up the counter. have let's make a counter. So let counter equals 0. Okay, we're gonna do counter plus plus. Okay, at the very end of this function, we're gonna return the counter. All right, so let's go over my logics. I get the first half of the word, then I get the second half of the word, and then I reverse the second half, and then I basically look, compare the two. Okay, and so since it's in half, it should be this. So I do need to have a couple checks in the beginning. Right, so length strings return 0. So basically, if input.length is 0, or input.length equals 1. Because if it's just one letter, then it's going to return 0. Okay, so like this will basically kick them out at the beginning. So like if they give me nothing, they get 0. If they give me something that, I mean, you can't have a palindrome with just 1, so 0. All right, so let's give this a shot. I have no idea this will work. Okay, cool, everything passed. Sweet, and I actually took the time to name these correctly. All right, so that's cool. We got that done. I'm gonna go ahead and highlight this and do Control Shift bracket and get rid of this. Okie doke. Let's go to the next one. Count double letters. Count double letters. Input. Export. Now you can see why some people like bellyache about unit testing, because it can be very like tedious, but it's part of your job. So Control Shift left bracket. Cool. All right. Describe counting double letter tests. All right, and then let's see what the requirements are. In the file block, word util. Oh, I was supposed to put this. Oh, okay, I was supposed to put this elsewhere. I just assumed it would be. Okay, word utils.js, create a count double letters function, export it. Okay, oops. Wait, where? It'll just stay here, whatever. All right, the function has one parameter, which is a single word as a string. The function calculates and returns the number of double letters in the word. E.g., ergo, success has 2 double letters. CC and SS will return 2. If you have trouble figuring this algorithm out completely, you can still get some points for correct and passing tests. All right, let's do the boring part first. All right, so you've seen me make tests. I'm just going to go ahead and do them right now. Okay, so what I'm kind of thinking is I'd like to take the string they give me and sort it so that all the letters, like in alphabetical order. So like, for example, there's 2 A's, the A's will go in the front. That way, if there's 2 letters, then it should go next to each other. Although let me double check this specification now I'm thinking about it. Function returns the number of double letters in the word. So I guess they don't have to be next to each other. That is the only thing I'm not exactly clear on. It looks from here that they have to be next to each other. So like, success has 2. So they have to be next to each other. So my thinking might not work in this case. All right, let me think for a moment. All right, I think I have an idea. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to iterate through the string, and I'm going to have a buffer. Cool. All right, and then we'll loop through the string. Input.length, I++. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, so basically how I'm going to do it is, let's do the pseudocode actually first. I kind of jumped ahead of myself. it will comment this. So basically, here's how my logic is going to work. So I'm going to iterate through the word. Create a buffer variable to hold letters as I loop. Cool. So if the buffer is less than 2, add the letter to it. If the buffer is 2, then check to see if the 2 letters in it are the same. Then clear the buffer. Alright, and then return the counter. So I'm going to have another counter variable. Just kind of keep track of how many double letters, because I think what they mean is double consecutive letters, because I read double letters as like there's 2 S's in the word anywhere, but I think what they mean is 2 consecutive letters that are the same. All right, so iterate through the word. We got that. Create a buffer variable to hold letters as I loop. I did that at the beginning. Cool. All right, so if the buffer is less than 2, buffer.length is less than 2, then I am going to go ahead and do buffer plus equals input I. Right, and then else. So I'm going to just, it's very, I guess what I'll do is just do if buffer let me think about this for a second. I actually won't clear the buffer. What I'll do is I'll get rid of the first one. So basically, here's how I'll do it. If buffer at the current state, so basically if buffer 0 equals buffer 1. So basically the 2 layers of this inside the buffer are the same, counter plus plus. And then we can just do buffer equals blank to clear the buffer. Now, I was thinking about like, so like while I'm programming this, I'm thinking to myself about edge cases, like what if it were like, I'll use the German word Essen, like, so if I did this, it would go to the first one, the second one, they would not be the same, but then I don't want to clear it, because if I clear it, then when it gets to this one, it will have missed these 2 S's. So now I'm thinking to myself, okay, cool. So if the buffer length, so here, if they're the same, otherwise, if they're not the same, I'm going to just go ahead and get rid of and clear out the first one. All right, I think I'm going to use an array instead, actually, because it's got some methods that might be better. So I'm going to do push here. All right, so if the length is less than 2, then I will just go ahead and add it. So first iteration is less than 2, add E. Second iteration, add 2, add S. And then when it gets here, it will check these 2 to see if they're not the same. If they are not the same, then you can just go ahead and pop this and add this. Then when it gets to here, you'll see that they're the same. As a counter, clears it, adds this, gets to this, checks to see if they're the same. All right, so maybe I could change this to be a little bit different. Maybe I should do, so you see this one's actually pretty tricky. I like it. So let's change this logic a bit. Let's change our pseudocode. All right, so we are always going, so basically if the buffer length if the buffer length, so we're going to add the thing to it. So add the letter to the buffer array. All right, cool. After we add the letter to the buffer, check if there are 2 letters. If they are the same, counter goes up by 1. If they are not the same, pop the first letter and keep moving. So, okay, cool. So let's do this in our heads, right? So Add layer to the buffer array. So I'm going to add E. All right, are there two letters? No. Continue. Okay, cool. Go to S. Add S to the array. Are there two letters? Yes. Are they the same? No. Pop E. Move to the next. Add S. Cool. Are they the same? Yes. Go to the counter. Clear the array. Go to E. Add E. Okay, cool. I think this makes sense. All right, cool. So add a layer to the buffer array. That's easy. So we're going to use. So the reason I did it was I want to be able to use like push and pop, which are methods that are for arrays. So I'm going to do buffer dot push. Okay, where is it? Input I. All right, cool. If buffer dot length, I'm gonna put it under the comment that if buffer dot length is 2. Okay, cool. So if it's 2, yeah. So if it's not 2, we just continue. If it is 2, then we're gonna check to see if they're the same. All right. So check to see if the two letters are the same. Counters by 1. So if buffer at 0 is equal to buffer dot 1, then counter plus plus, and then buffer dot clear. Okay, arrays, you can clear them. And then we'll go to the next. All right. Else, if they're not the same, buffer dot pop. So what pop does is we'll take the first element of the array and get rid of it, I believe. No, pop's at the end. I want shift. That's what I want. All right, cool. All right, so shift will get rid of that first thing. So let's take one of the and then at the end of this thing I return counter. That part's easy. They're not the same. Shift the first letter. Okay, cool. Get rid of some of this white space. All right, cool. Return the counter. Alrighty, let's take one of our test cases that's like a little bit longer, and let's just mentally work through the algorithm and see if it works. All right, so add M is buffer length 2. No. Continue. Add I is buffer length 2. Yes. Are they the same? No. Get rid of M. Add S. Cool. Are they this buffer length is 2? Yes. Are they the same? No. Get rid of I. Okay, add S. Are they the same? Yes. Get rid of both of them. Add I, add S. Get rid of I. Add S, they're the same. Add I, add P. Get rid of I. Add P, they're the same. Okay, cool. So I typically try to do that like to help my brain figure out like what exactly the algorithm is supposed to be doing. Let's give this a shot. I'm not sure that this works, but let's make sure we save everything. Okay, npm test. Oh no. Okay, cool. So my algorithm doesn't quite work. All right, so oh, buffer that clear is not a function. Buffer that clear is not a function, really? So like what I'm referring to is see how like they fail, and the first thing I go do is go look at them. So like here, like it'll like tell me where it's having a problem, and I think I know why. This is C#. Okay, so I'm sorry. I have like severe interference from other programming languages sometimes. In JavaScript, all I have to do is just basically call the blank array, right? That's what I have to do. So my apologies. I just literally forgot. All right, let's try this again. All right, cool. Everything passed. All right, awesome. Wow, that was a marathon. So this video is even longer than the last one. All right, so I'm gonna try to post this up to GitHub pretty soon, so you guys can take a look. My logic is okay. I think I could probably refactor this and make this a whole heck of a lot like fancier. So I might put up a video where I do the same stuff, but I make it fancier in case you'd like to see like how to tackle these problems from a different angle. But like I said, at the end of the day, the main thing, however, is the test. How to form your unit tests, how to export the functions so that you can use them, right? And so that sort of thing. That's the main thing. The actual assessment will not have any algorithms that are like this level difficult. All right.